Hey girl gang, it's Dr. Joy here, and you are watching Delivering Joy MDTV. Welcome to Well Woman Wednesday. And y'all, we have been talking about the social determinants of health, about how where we live, work, play, and where we're connected in our communities affects our actual health. So if you've been keeping up with the series, and I'm sure you have been, today we're actually talking about economic stability. How do you think economic stability would actually affect your health? That's a good question. And we have a special guest today who's going to answer it. Make sure you keep watching. All right, girl gang, we are back. And today I have a really special guest who I'm excited to welcome, Mr. Alvin Lee. Alvin is a certified retirement administrator and a certified retirement counselor. So one of the things that he does for his clients is he helps them build their wealth or economic stability. And that's what I want to talk about today. Welcome, Alvin.
Thank you. Thank you. Welcome. Awesome to be here. Always glad to speak on this topic, one of my favorite topics. And look forward to our discussion today.
Yeah, doesn't he just look like money, y'all? I know y'all can see this suit is high, like money. So we're going to be talking about money today. And when we think about health, we often forget about some of the things that go into health, like being able to have access to good health care, which, as we know, in the United States, we have a for-profit healthcare system for the most part. And so it takes money to stay healthy. But it also takes money to be able to access healthy foods, to be able to access places where you can play in peace and be and exercise, and to be able to afford education. So there's so many things that money actually helps us build in terms of our health. So Alvin, today I have some questions for you that I'm going to ask, and hopefully you can educate me and the whole girl gang and everybody else who's watching about this topic. So, one of the things that I think kind of maybe lost on people is how we actually generate wealth. And, we see a lot of stuff in the media, like people, balling out of control, driving this, riding that, flashing their chain and all this kind of stuff. Right. But those are not necessarily things that build wealth. So I want to talk a little bit about that. Can you tell us, like, when you're advising people and they're trying to figure out their economic legacy, how do you, talk to them about building wealth?
All right. Excellent question. I think we can look at that in different ways. There's a more practical way of looking at it for the everyday person. And like you said, you see the people on television and they're balling out and they're blinging and all of that. That's another way. Sometimes, most of the times, they already have money, but they have some of the same challenges in terms of the principles around having money. You can have it, but how much do you get to keep? How much actually will go toward investing for yourself? How much actually goes toward how much can you actually minimize taxes on that money? So the issues and principles are the same, just depending on wherever you are and whatever socioeconomic status you're in. But for today, let's kind of talk more practical purposes for just good practical techniques for the everyday person, but it can also be applied to people that may have even more economic wealth. So you can have $1 million, but if you spend 3 million, you're still in the same place as a person. You're not living within your means. So you just have a more lavish lifestyle for a short period of time, but the principles there still won't last, although it's a larger dollar amount. So kind of at the core of ways of building wealth in the United States is in a capitalistic society that we live in is going to be around, really, I would say, number one would probably be insurance, investments, and real estate. Those are types of assets that are available to basically everybody at different denominations, depending on where you are. But everyone should have those assets somewhere in their overall financial plan. So when we say insurance, types of insurances that actually minimize taxes, there are insurances that actually allow you to be able to do that. And insurance as far as being able to, if something happens to a family member or happen to you as an individual or someone in your family, you want to be able to replace income rather than it creating a liability. You want to create an asset for yourself. And I think in our communities, we often haven't, gotten the information in terms of the knowledge or education about kind of how these things work. And I think explaining that in a way that in practical terms, in ways that it can be grasped and seen how it can be implemented and utilized, actually can make a real big difference. So I would say the first way of even transferring wealth with insurance. So if you had insurance on your life, used to be in times past, it could be that, well, while a person had to pass on, they left an inheritance and they were able to get the inheritance, $1 million tax free. Now they have more money, but you can have those $1 million, but if you don't know how to utilize it and how to structure it properly to last your lifetime, then that wouldn't be much good either. However, there are insurances today that was quite different from insurance in time past. Just like, years ago, we used to use a rotary phone. I have to take some people back. They may not really remember the rotary phone, but today you have what you call a smartphone. So things have certainly been updated to today's standards, and so has insurance in terms of the ways that it was traditionally thought of and the way that it actually works today. For instance, case in point, there's actually insurance that's called Index Universal Life Insurance. That type of insurance you can actually purchase on you, your family members, or your children. And it actually allows you, if you were to have, let's say, as we're talking about health, what are the top 3 illnesses I would say that occur in the United States? That would be heart attack, stroke, cancer, or a type of critical illness. Out of that, if you have this type of insurance, you're actually able to have access up to 90% of the face value of whatever that policy is. Let's say it was $1 million policy. Would $900,000 without any taxes on it, would that help out during that time period? So you don't have so you don't have to wait until actually, if they call it living benefits. So you actually can exercise the benefits while you're still living. Nobody has to pass away. If a family member were to get a heart attack, stroke, cancer, or one of those top illnesses, to have access to that would be tremendous in terms of helping you to offset costs associated with that. Because we know if anyone in our family something happens to them, it affects more than just them alone. It's going to affect other members that care about them and want to see them get the best care, and see things work out properly. So it's all interconnected. That it's not that's just that individual, it's also connected to their family as well. So if you were working on a job and that occurred, you actually would have to be out from work, probably be on disability, and maybe you're getting 60% of your income. Wouldn't it be good to have access to, additional funds without any taxes on that money to help you out during that time? So as we get back to what are the top 3, insurance would definitely be one, and there are different types for different scenarios depending on what you're trying to accomplish. But that's one way that you can actually build wealth and generate wealth, because if you can minimize taxes on the amount of wealth that you're accumulating, it makes a big difference. I mean, insurance happens to be the only, say, financial vehicle I know of that's out there where it's actually, when the distribution is paid, you don't have to pay any taxes on it. So to get $1 million and then pay taxes, even if people say, "Oh, I win the lottery, I got to pay taxes," it's the only financial instrument that you can have that you can at distribution time not have to pay taxes on it. So it can get you, put you way ahead of the game real fast. So that's one way that we can generate wealth.
Taxes are crazy. I mean, I think I pay almost 40% of my income in taxes. It's a little insane. So I would definitely want a vehicle that would help me avoid having to pay taxes on the money after I put the money in. I want to get it out without paying taxes on it. So so insurance. We got insurance. Okay.
And that's what most wealthy people do. I tell often when I'm talking to clients, it's like, well, if you put money in the bank and you're getting less than 1% of it, but the bank is using your money to be able to purchase additional, to actually be able to loan out that money to other people, and basically they're making money off your money, and they'll give you less than 1% and won't even apologize to it. They can do it with a straight face, and it's like, your money is here and we're not going to give you anything for it, but we're going to use it. So that doesn't seem to be right. So don't put your money just in the bank. You want to put your money where the bank puts their money. So the banks put their money in vehicles like this that they can, and the wealthy and affluent do that as well, so that they can minimize taxes and increase the amount of funds they have to go forward. So number one, insurance. The next would be investments. Investments, we're looking at things that you want your money to make money, right? We don't want it to lose value. We want it to increase in value. And if we want it to increase in value, it could be around investment, stocks, bonds, your retirement account, something that's going to create you a continual cash flow. And so investments are a way. If you're in an investment and you're earning 15-20% on your money, and if inflation during normal time periods was normally 3 to 4% a year, you're going to be able to get ahead. So you want to be in financial vehicles where you're creating assets and where they're going to be increasing in value by taking the original investment and gaining interest and compounding that interest to make you have even more money. So your money making money. So I would say insurance, investments, and then the last one would be real estate. Real estate is something that you can acquire. Of course, you have ownership in it. It's an asset that can appreciate in value, and depending where you are, location is everything. It can build equity, and when you have ownership and you're building equity, those are ways that you can generate wealth. If you think about the cost of, say, a home 20 years ago, and you think about what a home now costs. If you bought your home 20 years ago, chances are, if it's in a decent neighborhood or in a decent environment, chances are it's appreciated in time over the value you originally paid for it. And so that provides you ownership, provides you equity, and gives you leverage in this capitalistic society to be able to move forward and get ahead. So my top three that you asked me, I would say insurance, very important for you, your family, and all family members, children included. And starting early with them actually makes it even better. Investments, stocks, bonds, retirement accounts, ways that you're going to be able to get your money to making money. In most retirement accounts, you're setting aside money that comes off of your gross rather than your net. So it's actually reducing, again, the amount you can be taxed on. For a real life example, let's just say if you had $100, I'm gonna break it down. So if you made $100 in income and you say, well, I'm going to take 10% of this money, and I'm going to set it aside in a retirement plan. Well, the government now, since you're going to be actively participating in a retirement plan and you're going to set aside those $10, now the government won't tax you on your gross of $100. They'll tax you on $90, which is that 100 minus the 10 that you set aside. So now you're reducing the amount of taxes that you can actually be taxed on. Then that money gets invested, so it's compounding and it's going to grow. So your money is making money. And then many times when you work at employers that often offer these types of plans, they'll match what you decide to set aside. So it's like free money. Sometimes it's 6% on the dollar up to the first 6%, but still that's like free money they're giving you to help you prepare and plan for your future. So very worthwhile investment. So I think that your future, I would say, saying that your future is your future is a priority, and it's a bill worth paying. So make that one of the bills you pay for your future.
Absolutely. I think that's so important. And I really love how you can apply these principles, whether you make $50,000 a year, $20,000 a year, $200,000 a year, because now there's so many ways that you can do investments or purchase insurance, and it's not super expensive to do. You just have to get started. And that's something I've just really kind of started learning about, and just saying, okay, let me just decide to start somewhere. So as long as you're able to decide to start somewhere, just investing money and making sure that you have insurance policies, then you can get going, and you'd be surprised how fast your money grows.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of times we think that we have to have thousands of dollars, and many times most people will say, oh, that's not for me, I don't make enough to be a part of that. But actually you make enough to be a part of it. You make enough, there's no reason why you shouldn't be a part of it. But it's all in, I think, just communication, education, and just kind of debunking some of the myths of the past. And that, it's not about what you don't have. It's about what you do have, and how can you take what you have and make it go farther.
Yeah. And speaking of that, in your opinion, why do you think there's such a big gap, or even a growing gap, between the haves and the have-nots? Because that's something that I think about a lot. Is like, how is it possible for people to lift themselves out of the cycle of poverty,
Yeah.
and to be able to, you know, achieve a stable
Mhm.
lifestyle. You know, it doesn't have to necessarily be wealthy, but just stable,
Yeah.
where we're not living paycheck to paycheck. We're not,
Hmm.
you know, food insecure. We're not housing insecure. We're stable, and we're
Yeah.
able to create some sort of legacy for the people coming after us. Why do you
Right.
think that gap is there, and what do you think we could do to close it?
Oh, that's an excellent question. I would say that is there probably because of, I would say, education. Um, in terms of understanding that is again eliminating the old thought process in terms of mindset, and sometimes it's not only education, it's oftentimes environment. It's just a way to be in touch with getting more education and information about money and how it works, and seeing it actually being implemented in a practical way that an individual might grasp. Um, and when I just started thinking about why that wealth gap widens, it would come down to education, I think, exposure, and I would say mentorship is important, because it's not a matter of where you're from, it's about where you're going. And I think when you have exposure to, let's say, if you don't grow up in the best of environment, but you're exposed to um, other avenues, or you see other people that are successful and they can mentor you and share that information, which it becomes education in all different types of ways, whether it's in a classroom or whether it's just more practical, someone sharing it with you and showing you how it works. And then I think it helps when an individual can see that, it helps to shape their vision, in terms of, hey, what do I see, for what kind of life do I want to have, and what would it take for me to get there? How do I gain access to people that are doing those things that I'd like to see myself doing later on? And I think that's why like shows like this are so important, where we can reach people wherever they are and say, hey, there's always hope if you're willing to, open-minded to learn and work hard, get you to the right people, explain information that can benefit you in a language that you can comprehend and that makes sense, and you can see it implemented, and then move forward and get on that path. So I would just say education around financial literacy, how money works, being exposed to people that do the things that you have an interest in, um, and then being mentored by those types of people. And so that same principle applies to whether it's a blue collar job, whether it's a white collar job. Just seeing someone that often, I mean, it's very encouraging. Often you see people that look like you can identify with, that are doing everyday practical things, that's moving them forward in their lives with some stability. And once you see that that's attainable, then the person often gravitates toward that. Their mind is open, and they can become some of the greatest entrepreneurs, the greatest inventors, just the greatest contributors to society, and they go back to their community and share information, which changes everything. So I would say that gap widens, and we can start to narrow that gap by people like yourself, people, from what I do, sharing information in communities that may be underserved, that may not get access to information as readily as everyone else, and letting them know that, hey, you're important, you can learn, you can achieve, and being there to assist. I think that makes a world of difference.
Absolutely. I really love your podcast. So, y'all, Alvin has a podcast called Faith, Finances, and Freedom. So, I'm going to put that in the description box below, but definitely check it out. I listen on Spotify, and he gives, really easy to understand explanations for how to even look at finances, how to think about finances. This latest one was on, are we about to go into a recession? So I know that's something that's been on a lot of people's minds. So I'm going to put that in the description box below. So make sure you check that out. I think that it is really important what you were saying about education, and then what was modeled for you, because like, growing up, I always saw my grandparents and my parents thinking about, okay, what's going to be the legacy? How are we going to save money? How are the kids going to college? How are we going to leave an inheritance? So, my grandfather was retired for over 50 years, but when he passed away, he still left money for my dad's generation and for my generation, which was amazing to me because he was a teacher.
Yeah.
So this really does apply to everybody. Anybody, he obviously didn't make a ton of money, but he was very smart with what he did with his money. So I was very fortunate to have that example growing up and to see that. So I do think that what you see is really important. And if maybe you didn't see that, maybe you did not see economic stability growing up, it's so easy now in the days of social media to link with people who know what they're doing, who can give you some mentorship and some guidance and who can help you. You always want to look for reputable people. So of course, I'm going to post Alvin's information down below. Because I personally know him to be a trustworthy financial advisor. So you want to be, deal with reputable people, but there are certainly lots of people out there that can help you get to where you want to go in terms of getting your insurance straight, getting some investments going, and thinking about real estate. So I think that it's really a great opportunity to connect with people and start to get your own wealth building going. What are your top 5 practical tips for saving so that we can invest? Because that can be hard. Sometimes the shoes are calling your name. We have to figure out ways that, regardless of our salary, that we take a little bit of something and put it back.
Yeah. That's so true. I mean, I think when we start thinking about practical steps for saving or investing, we really have to develop a mindset of intentionality. We're going to have to be intentional about it. Sometimes we're intentional about other things that may not provide us as much value sometimes, but we have to really be intentional about it. And if we are, and we have to make it fun, because most time people say, finances, I don't know, I deal with that last. But you think about that. If you're going to deal with that last, how are you going to get first place results, right? So we got to start thinking about that first. And if we develop a mindset that we're thinking about it first, what do we have to do first? If we have income coming in, we've got to develop a budget. People go, oh man, I got a budget. I'm on a budget. That's like, trying to say almost like I'm on a diet. That's going to hurt me. I ain't going to be able to spend. It's like, no, it's not like that. It's not that painful. I tell people develop, if you want to call it a spending plan, develop yourself a spending plan or a rewards plan for yourself. Think about it in that way. But what it helps you to do, though, is to be intentional about really what's important to you. What might be important to somebody else. You don't want someone else to build a plan for you. That might not be what interests you. So if it's around things that are important to you, I find that you'll build a plan that you can stick to because it's going to help reward you down the road for things that are important to you. So first, I would say be intentional. You're developing that budget. Within that budget, really, I would say a budget or a spending plan is more of a roadmap. If you don't have a roadmap for going anywhere, basically anywhere will do, right? So if we don't have a roadmap for where we want our finances to take us, then anywhere will do. And we'll end up, right back in the same place or
lost.
Lost, right? Recalculating. We have to do the recalculation on our finances to get back on the right track when we find that maybe our funds aren't going where we want them to go. It's what we would call identify as what's your risky spending. So when you develop that plan, I would say put together a monthly plan. Maybe you want to kind of check up on it in like every 2 weeks to kind of see where you're going with that plan, where you look at all the income you have and you look at what your expenses are. And within those expenses, you want to look at, okay, what are the just necessities? You got utilities, water, light, food. You got to build in all those essentials. And then after the essentials, you say, okay, then what do I have left over? This could be discretionary. And so out of that discretionary, number one, since you're actively involved in the plan, you want to have something built in to reward yourself for what you're doing. So it becomes it becomes more fun. I mean, the more you do it, the better you get at it. You start developing healthy habits. And just like when people go to the gym, exercise, they don't start out at the top. These are start with, Rome wasn't built in a day. So we start out brick by brick. Each day we get better. So the key there is consistency. So develop a plan, have consistency. And then just as we would have healthy, say, exercise habits, I think of it in terms of financial fitness. What do you look like financially? How fit are you financially in terms of developing goals, having intentional goals around where you're trying to go on a short-term basis, 1 to 3 years, midterm, 3 to 5, 10 years down the road. Where do you want to be? And I find that oftentimes individuals don't have these type of conversations with themselves, even if you're not there right now. And most people aren't, and therefore they feel overwhelmed and they never get started at all. So you want to write down what you would want your future to look like, even if it's not there right now. But if you write it out, and so what gets written down is what gets accomplished. So you write it down, get it all out. This is where I want to go. This is where I'm trying to go. I don't have the resources to get there at this point, but at least come up with a realistic plan. So come up with a realistic plan around your income. Be intentional about it. Let it be your roadmap. You want to set monthly goals, and then you review those goals at the end of the month and see how well you did. Okay, this is the month. These are the funds that I had coming in. These were my necessities. This is what I had left over. And I also will say, when you're building that budget, actually build the budget in a way that is actually less than what it's going to take you. Once you get to the end of it, it's going to be less than what you actually need to live off of. So that's called living beneath your means. So if something comes up, it's not going to just totally derail everything that you're trying to do. So, and once you set those monthly goals, you review them. Then I would say one of the ways that you can take some of the stress out of it, or some of the pain out of it, is what the funds that you're going to set aside. Let's say you're going to pay yourself first. I believe in giving first. Give first to God, and He's blessed you with everything that you have. So you give there, then you pay yourself first, just like you would pay bills. Pay yourself, reward yourself, because you put in some work to achieve what you have as well. But most people often don't pay themselves. So come up with your percentage. If it's 10%, it's 5%, whatever you think it is. Pay yourself first. And one of the easy ways to do that would be to set up a savings account where the money will automatically come out of your account. A lot of times it's out of sight, out of mind. If it comes out automatically, it's not something that you had to go and do. It just automatically came out of your account. So if it automatically comes out and you see, okay, wow, I had X number of dollars. Now this is what I have. You often will learn to live within what you make. Because if you made less than that, you would find a way to make ends meet. But how about finding a way to make ends meet, and then you're actually rewarding yourself with building a secure financial future that will be able to help you in times to contribute, to move you forward and get your money making money. So, I mean, with all the apps that we have today, we have budgeting apps. So, no longer you just got to get a piece of paper out and write it down on paper. I mean, you can have an app that can connect to your bank account that'll track your spending and even put it in different categories. What you're spending toward your mortgage, what you're spending towards your utilities, how much you're eating out. This is one that really gets most people, that surprises them. They're like, well, man, I didn't know I was spending, $100, $200 eating out. It's like, wow, did I really spend that much? It's like, yeah, you went here on Monday, you went here on Tuesday, you were there on Wednesday. Yeah, you spent that.
Definitely.
You spent that. So not saying that, you want to cut out all of your eating out, you want to reward yourself, but you can imagine, let's say if that was $200 a month, $2,400 a year, investing that money, starting to make money for you. So you're like, well, maybe I'll cut back. Maybe I'll spend 50. I won't spend 200, but at least it gives you a red flag to say, wow, when we actually see it on paper, is something altogether different. When you see the numbers and you go back and you try, yeah, I guess I did spend there on Tuesday. Oh, I forgot I spent this over there. And so things start to add up. So I would say automate, have an automatic deposit so it comes out and goes into a totally separate account. So it's like out of sight, out of mind, separating that money out into a separate account. And then I would say, once you achieve your goal at the end of the month, then you got to have some fun. So you reward yourself. You say, hey, when I achieve this goal, I'm going to, whatever is important to me, just like you mentioned, those shoes or that dress and, that you just got to have. So when you're actually, on track and on point for doing the things that, you're setting aside, you have in mind, I'm trying to get to this goal. And guess what? I'm going to reward myself because I followed through with my plan, and I'm going to get those shoes that I saw in that window.
Wait, well, you said pay myself first, though. So does that mean I could get the shoes at the beginning of the month?
No, well,
No?
you might have to delay it a little bit. You delay it, but you know it's coming because you see the value that it's adding, because not only would you be able to purchase them, but you're going to purchase them and you're still going to have some money in your pocket.
Okay.
And then your money's making money versus you just spending and it's gone and it didn't work for you. You want to make sure you're putting your money to work like you work for it. There you go.
Yeah. Okay. And I really do believe this for sure, because when I started a savings investing journey, I had this money that was coming out automatically out of my account. And when I started thinking about it, I was like, oh, that's a lot of money. Like, it's going to be too much. Like, am I going to be able to live? And now I don't even notice it. Like, it's just gone, and I'm doing exactly what I've always done. And, another practical tip, girl gang, I don't know if you're like me, but I go hog wild with Amazon Prime. So what I do is I put almost everything that I could put on subscribe and save, because one, you get something, you get cheaper. So like if you buy a lot of stuff on Amazon Prime, like I do, put your stuff on subscribe and save so you know what you're paying and what months you're going to have to pay it. So that's worked very well for me, and it's kept me from ordering stuff just willy-nilly all the time throughout the month. So think about that. I know it's not like real serious financial tip, but it works really well for me. So I am so excited that we had a chance to talk about this today. I think it's so important. I think that when we talk about money or wealth, what we're really talking about is options. People having options. I can't tell you how many people that, I meet on a daily basis who need things. They need medications, they need procedures, they need things done. And it is literally their finances that's stopping them from getting it done. Sometimes these are not even high price items. Yeah. They might be a $50 medication or something like that, but $50 might as well be $5 million if you don't have it and you need it. Yeah. So that's why economic stability is so important when we're talking about healthcare, being able to get access to healthcare. So whether that's an employer providing access to healthcare, or if you're able to go and purchase insurance on the healthcare marketplace, like these are really big things, and we don't often think about them that way, but they really can mean the difference in your quality of life is what you can afford. And if you go to see somebody like me and I'm telling you, oh, you're borderline diabetic, you need to change your diet, you need to eat better, and you're thinking, well, I can't really afford some of the things that I need to get. So economic stability is such a big foundation for our health, and we have to start thinking about it that way, because also one of the biggest health risks that I think we face in our communities is stress. Stress is huge. And if you ask people what are some of the number one things they're stressing about, money and relationships. Right?
Top two.
Money and relationships, whether that be relationships at home, at work, I don't have enough money and my relationship is struggling. So we've got to, at least we can clear up one, make people act right at your house or at work, but we can help you get your money right. Right?
Yeah, but the one could improve the other.
That's a lot of couples divorce over finances. So there's lots of things that we could talk about, but I definitely want to say thank you very much to Alvin Leaks for coming on and talking to us today and just sharing his wisdom about money. Make sure you check out his podcast, Faith, Finances, and Freedom. It's fantastic, and you will definitely understand the topic that you are listening to that day. And I will also be placing his information below if you want to reach out to him about how to get some of these things started, particularly if you're interested in building a legacy for your retirement. So I hope you enjoyed today's episode. We're looking forward to getting back together again to talk about financial fitness in the future. So we'll catch you next time, girl gang. Peace.
Peace.